How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Fred-BRICKS-burg. I'm really excited for today's update because today we're working on the residential area. I've been mentioning plans to develop this area with some houses for quite a while now. I've been waiting for some parts to come in, and I wanted to finish off this back row here with the businesses and courthouse and church, and now we're finally over here to the residential area. Just look at all this room we have. I think it is, 2.5 by 3 base plates in area. I got several buildings planned, so let's get started. Today I'm going to be building several Sunday houses. A Sunday house was a small home in town that the settlers would only use on the weekends while they were in town to trade and attend church. Typically they were quite simple and often just one room in size. Alright, there we go. We have an angled dirt road cutting through the middle here. I think that's going to look pretty cool. Have things at an angle, similar to the other angled roads we have in the city center. I'm going to put houses on both sides of them. Let's go ahead and work on this left side first. First up is the Mueller-Petmecky House. This house was built in 2 stages. The first stage was the half timber frame section, built around 1850. And then later in 1895, the limestone edition was built by A.W. Petmecky, who was actually the one that did the stone elephant on the White Elephant Saloon we just did. Today, the protected house is part of the Fredericksburg Inn and Suites. I'll start by building the original section with the half-timbered frame construction. For the floor, I went with dark tan, assuming it's probably just like a packed dirt flooring. So my original design of the half-timbered framing included a diagonal beam and a cross beam using some bars. However, when I started building that with real Lego parts, it just became too delicate and I didn't have enough connection points and it just did not work out. So I had to redesign it with a simpler half-timber framing, taking out those diagonals. Here's my revised design with just the vertical and horizontal timber frames showing, and I got rid of those angled ones just to keep it simpler. So there we go, not as complex, but I think it looks pretty good. I used coral for the shutters. They've been repainted nowadays, but I like that coral color. Moving on to the inside, I'm going to keep things pretty simple as this was an older house. Start with a table and chair for the dining room or dining area. It's a one-room house. On the side here, I'm going to have a simple sink with a hand water pump. Just used a telescope piece, a painter's roll, and then a minifigure hand for the spout. I think that turned out pretty good. Pretty simple bed using that coral color again for the sheets. And then just a little dresser. Give you a look at the inside before I close in the walls. Just a nice simple one room original house there. Front wall is going to be similar to that back wall. There we go. Then I'm going to put in the dividing wall between the new and the old section. I have a door on this wall. My thought is that this is the exterior door for the original section. And then I have a fireplace on both sides. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and put a little flame in the bottom of the fireplace on each side. Before I get on to the second section, I'm going to go ahead and add the staircase here up to the attic because this piece is just loose right now. Just a simple white staircase. A lot of these houses had staircases up to the attic or upper room. Now on to the newer limestone edition. So for this side, I'm going to be putting in some wood plank flooring, a little nicer section with the limestone. Walls on this one are going to be limestone, so the tan masonry bricks. I continued those coral shutters. Moving on to the inside of this one, I have a little more furnishings. Kitchen is going to have that same hand water pump, another simple sink. This one I have a larger counter next to it with a couple of drawers. I have a larger dining table with 2 chairs in sand blue, another bed with the sand blue color scheme, and then a little nightstand on either side with a candle. There we go, look at the inside. It's a little more spacious than the original side, but pretty much the same. Front wall is just like the others. Tan masonry, coral shutters, and another exterior door for this half. There we go. And then for the roof, I'm going to do a simple gable roof in dark gray. As we can see here, went ahead and put a little door on this side for the stairs and have a chimney continuing through the roof with some smoke coming out. You might notice that the top of it, the spacing I needed for this size of the house didn't work with this slope. So I have these kind of a V here, but to fix that problem, it's going to be, it's not a legal technique, but it's not going to be a connected technique. So I'm actually going to put 2 of these slopes back to back, and to get them to stick, I'm going to use bucket handles. So you just put 2 of those in there like that, and then now 2 of these will stick together. And then I'll just loosely place these on here. Now obviously if I turn it upside down or move it too hard, they'll fall off, but I think that looks pretty good. And I needed to do that because I needed this, was it 12 wide? And I wanted this slope, so I needed to do something creative like that to make that work. But we'll bring the house over and put this on and see if it works. So I don't know if anyone noticed, but I had the chimney in the wrong spot. It was over here, and it should be offset on this side. That way it lines up in between the old section and the new section where the chimney is. So I fixed that, and then I also, while I was at it, updated the plates. I had tan plates going all the way across the bottom. Instead, I switched this to black plate. That way it looks better with the black timber frame there. Did that a little bit like that. Whoops. Okay. All right, the Petmecky House is in. You see on the back, I put some white picket fence and put a little pig pen in the corner there. No reason really, except for I had the pieces. Went ahead and put the walkway up to the next house, so let's get started on that. Next house I'm going to be building is the August Hennersdorf House. August and Johanna Hennersdorf migrated to Fredericksburg from Prussia in 1855 and built this house in the early 1900s. So I'm going to be using one row of tan masonry bricks around the bottom, and there's actually evidence that indicates that the floor joists of this home are portions of the original octagonal wooden columns from the first Vereinskirche buildings, which is pretty cool. There we go, got the original octagonal columns there as floor joists, and then I'll just put a floor over that. And those floor joists are going to be hidden, and you won't ever be able to see them again, but I thought it was a nice detail to add. The siding on this house looks to be white shiplap, so I used those masonry bricks, but I turned them around so you just have the line version. I think that looks kind of like shiplap siding. And then some sand blue windows. For the interior, I thought I would pack it pretty tight. So I got a main bed with dark blue. I have a little twin bed in the other corner, table and a couple of chairs, and then a little kitchen section with a stove, a corner counter, and then a sink. And there we go. Pretty simple interior. It is packed, but it is just a Sunday house, so they'd only be coming in here use it on the weekend to go to church, and then they'd be back out at their farm for the rest of the week. Front wall has more of that shiplap siding along with sand blue windows and door frame. And I'll go ahead and put a little porch on the front along with its landing. Probably could have connected that to the main part of the foundation, but I didn't. And then on the side here, I'm going to add a little staircase. For mine, it's going to be just for show, but we got a little staircase on the side there. And then just a simple gable roof. And there we go. We got the August Hennersdorf house. Nice little Sunday house. The Hennersdorf house is in. Went ahead and just smashed that one down. It's kind of hard because it's got a lot of plates on the bottom, whereas the Petmecky house is just loose in there because it's at that angle. Next, I want to come up front here, and I'm going to do a little bit different than a house. I'm actually going to be building a gas station. We still have a lot of horses and carriages at the turn of the century here, but there are a few cars starting to pop up and they need gas. I'm modeling this building off a small abandoned gas station just out of town that I've always liked, which unfortunately was just recently torn down. And since we're in Texas, it'll be a Texaco, and I'll be using the classic Texaco colors of red, white, and green. So I'll just be starting off with a white base with a white and green checkered floor. Have a simple white wall. It does have a green shuttered window on the side there. And I just put a couple shelves up there with some cans, oil cans probably. I'm going to keep the inside pretty simple since it's a small building and we're not really going to get in here ever again. Have just a desk with a little cash register and just a couple of red chairs. So like I said, just a simple interior. Front is white with more of those green windows and a green door. There we go, that's the main part of the structure, nice and simple. Next I got a big awning to put over for the cars to drive under. I'll attach a couple of columns there for that. And then we can't forget on the awning to put the iconic Texaco colors there. Got a white dish with a green plate behind it and a red star. There we go, looking pretty Texaco-y. Simple roof for the mains part. And then we definitely need a gas pump. So I built a old-timey gas pump here. Main part's red. It has that clear part where the fuel comes up. I have a white flexi hose there for the hose, and then this is the handle that the attendant would turn to make it go. And this is the little meter gauge. I was gonna print a custom sticker for that, but I went ahead and just switched it out for a standard gauge print. I think that works good enough. And let me know what you think. I think that's a pretty good fuel tank build. And I even built a little oil can that we saw in that picture with the red and green and the little red spout on there. Now you might remember that I built a fuel truck in a previous update. I just found that design on Rebrickable and had no clue if this is what fuel trucks looked like during this time period. But later I actually found pictures of a piggy bank toy version of a Texaco fuel truck from 1910, and it pretty much looks exactly like the one I already built. So that worked out really well. I couldn't have planned that better if I tried. So that's my Texaco gas station. Really like how it turned out, and I think it's small, but I think it's the right size for this era. There we go, the Texaco station is in. I think that looks really great. Small little gas station just on the corner here, but it's kind of what I was going for. I don't have any historical photos of gas stations in Fredericksburg, so this is what we're going with. I think the colors turned out great, got that classic look. Let's go ahead and move over to the right section with some more houses. Next up is the Weber House. This small blue house was built in 1904 by August and Alwine Weber, and they used it on the weekends when visiting town for church. Today this house is actually part of the Pioneer Museum and has been preserved with some of its original furnishings. For the Weber House I started with the dark blue flooring, and I have these 2x2s that act as the piers for the pier and beam foundation that it looks like it is built on. Put light gray on the flooring on this one, and the front part here is going to be the porch with the steps here. This is probably the simplest house we're building today. For the walls, just a lot of sand blue, really good color, and then white trim for the windows and doors. So put those back 3 walls on right now. Not much going on the inside, it's just a simple 1-room house. For the kitchen, I have a sink, stove, and a little table. 1 chair for the table. And I have a simple bed and medium nougat, and then just a simple little dresser across from the bed. So like I said, very simple interior, as this is just a small 1-room house. Front wall of the house has a couple more windows along with a white door, and then I put this white panel piece in the center here and I inversed it so you got some texture there, and that's the attic door that we saw from the picture. There we go. For the porch awning, I'm using those old hinge plates, which I really like, and I use those a lot. They have a lot thinner profile than modern hinge plates. And a couple posts. There we go. Nice little awning over the front porch. Put a ridge beam up top. And then the 2 roof panels are pretty simple, just a bunch of tiles on plates. And I used this Lego technique where you have those inverted slopes and they just are going to rest on these panel pieces so they don't slide off. Oh, and I also put the white trim along the fascia there. And there we go. Nice little sand blue Weber house. All right, looking good. Let's go ahead and move on to the house on the corner here. And this one is going to be a fancier one. Next is the Johann Joseph Knopp House, which was built in 1871. Johann and his wife, Katharina, bought the home site for $70 in gold. They had 15 children, only 9 of whom reached adulthood, and they worked the family farm 1 mile away. So the Knopp House is definitely going to be the fanciest Sunday house we're building. It is made out of stone and just going to have a lot more furnishings and room on the inside. For the floor, I went with reddish brown for a wooden floor. And then we're going to do a little bit different. Usually I do the back corner of the walls first. On this house, I'm going to be doing the front 2. That way we can see inside a little bit better. The front wall has white windows and these black shutters, which is an older piece, kind of hard to get a hold of. And if you see, the window goes above the shutter, and that is, I did that because that's how it was in the old photos. We also have a couple door rail pieces above the windows there, and then a nice black awning just for the front porch. And I went ahead and included a little light there. So I guess this house has one of the first with electricity. And then for the sidewall, more masonry bricks. This house has a compound pitch roof, so much steeper on the main part, and then this back part is flatter. I have a attic door already ready upstairs where the staircase landing is going to be. This window we'll see in a second, and then I went ahead and put the chimney on here and a little fireplace down below. There we go, got a good start to the Knopp House. You can see that attic door is just a facade and doesn't really go into anything on the inside. And there is quite a bit of room, so let's start filling that out with all the furnishings. Start with the main bed for the parents. Went with light blue. Put that up front here. Gonna put a simple dining table with some dark blue chairs in this other corner. In the center here I'm gonna put a couch. Used this design before, just changed out the colors to match this one. In this back lower ceiling section I'm gonna put the kitchen, corner kitchen. Got a sink, stove. Standard for all my Sunday houses. And in this corner I'm going to put a bunk bed along with that light blue dark blue color scheme. And I almost forgot this window here, or this opening. I'm going to be putting a bay window. So it has the 3 angled windows there with a black roof. On the inside I just put a little flower herb garden kind of thing. And that's just going to attach there on the bottom like that. Looks pretty good. But back to the inside, you can see it is quite a nice Sunday house. For the next wall, I'm going to have a breakaway spot. That way we can peer in a little easier. So that's what this big hole for is here. But you can see we also have another window here, and just like the photo, this one, the shutters do cover the whole height of the window. Got a window upstairs, and then on the inside, a painting of a ship on a bracket piece, and I have that there actually so that breakaway wall piece will stop when you push it up. There we go. And then on the breakaway wall, I just use those slope pieces up top so it'll go in nicely. I just put a flowering vine on the side there. And that should go right in like that. And then while we're having it, I'm going to go ahead and put the ridge beam up top for the roof, which should hold everything together a little better. And then just one more look at the interior before we put on the back wall, which is very simple, just more tan masonry with a door. There we go. And then for the roof is going to be a little more complicated because all the angles. You probably noticed that I have these platforms here, and they're going to hold some hinge bricks for the roof. Roof is tiled in black, and I use some rail pieces to help hopefully hide those gaps. You can see there are some hinge bricks underneath. I haven't done this yet, so hopefully it works. Alright, that was kind of hard. Hopefully this next one will go in a little easier. Similar design. It has a cutout for the chimney. Alright, that one was definitely easier. Last one is similar. This one's probably going to be hard because I'm running out of places to put my hands in there to attach it, but let's see. Yep, that didn't work. Hold on. Alright, that was hard. I'm really glad I put this breakaway wall in because you can't really see inside. Well, it's super dark in there now. But in order to see inside, you kind of got to take off the whole roof, and it is hard to put back. But you kind of still see inside there if you shine a light in. But I wanted to make sure I get the roof line on this one. Let's go ahead and finish up the staircase next. So for the staircase, I got 2 arch pieces that will go on top of that bay window there, like that. Then I have a staircase and some railing. Pretty simple. There we go. Nice little staircase on the side. And then for this, the front porch, I didn't have connected to the base plate, but it'll just go in front of it when I place it in the city. And then a couple of nice flowering hedges below each window. And there we go, the Knopp House. Another nice little picket fence here around the back of the Knopp House. This house is kind of big on the corner here. You might think a smaller house might work better on the corner, but it is one of the more detailed ones, and I really like how it looks with that bay window and balcony in the front, so I think it'll work well here on the corner, even though it is a little bigger than some of the others. Alright, next let's move on to the front right corner here with the Walter House. The Walter House was one of the earliest homes in Fredericksburg. It was built in 1846 using half-timber frame construction by German settler Peter Walter. In 1954, the house was consecrated as a mission and is now known as St. Barnabas Episcopal Church. As you can see from the pictures, the house is simple, so I just have a kind of a packed dirt floor here and a little bit of the brown there for the walls. And out front, I just used some ingots and tiles to kind of make a cobblestone looking front porch. I'm going to start with the back wall on this one because the back roof is going to be lower, so we need to fill that in first. Tan masonry bricks with reddish brown windows. Go ahead and put a fire in the fireplace here. Going to put a dresser on the back wall here. Simple bed with dark red in the corner. And then 2 armchairs around the fire. Kind of a tight fit, but looking good. Next, I'm going to put on the rear roof slope. I went ahead and filled this in first because it's going to make it a little difficult to get in there, but put that on like that. Next, I'm going to work on the sidewalls. So the sidewalls come in 3 pieces, and that's because I'm going to use a tile piece angled in there for those angled shear beams. Reddish brown windows with the shutters, some masonry bricks, and just tiles and plates and using those slopes. So I'll put in the rear triangles first. Those go up against the wall. And I'll put the, what is that, a trapezoid wall in. Same one on the other side. And then on the front one, they were a little delicate, so I'm going to use a headlight brick and actually attach it to some furniture on the inside. In order to get tiles on this side to keep it smooth rather than the anti-studs of a plate, I used one of those pieces so you can reverse the sides, which does make it delicate, and that's why I'm going to attach it inside. But on the outside, that plate sticks out, so on this side I have a little flower. And then same thing on the other side, except for on this side it is going to be a bird, and I used one of those beard pieces as its nest. And then on this side is going to be the counter in the kitchen. A couple of drawers there, potted plant, and a bowl. You can see there's a headlight brick. That's where this side attaches to. And then that nightstand was from the other side. And then lastly, I'm just going to loosely place these tiles in here. They will kind of fall out if you're rough with the set, so you can just put them back in. But I wanted that look. This is going to be the most delicate one, but it's because of the techniques I needed to make it look like the half-timbered frame. And there we go, looking like a pretty good wall. And as you can guess, the side walls here are the part I had to redesign. When I built my original design that I had in digital, there were too many loose sections that didn't connect, so I had to figure out a way to connect those better, and it's pretty good. Inside we have a simple table with a dark red top. For the chairs, I did kind of a metal one with a curved back. I guess it could be painted wood. I think these were in the boutique hotel, that design. Oh, yeah, like I said, it's a little delicate. Gotta be careful where I pull. These actually go one way. You can see on the triangle sides, one side has a couple studs exposed, and those studs fit in these anti-studs and help hold it in a little better, but as you can see, it's still kind of delicate. This was an older house, so I'm gonna just put a simple sink and a pump well. And then I'm gonna put just a little twin bed up front here with the sheets folded back a little. There we go. There's the interior. Front's going to be similar, so go ahead and put those triangle sides in first. And then the front wall is a little more complex. We got a window and a door. Door is on those clip pieces, so it does function. Well, these pieces apparently are stronger than the connection, but in theory it functions. I'll just rebuild that real quick, which is fine. I was going for the look more than the function on this one anyway, but just put that one in. This one only connects with 2 studs, so this one's probably the most delicate one, or easiest to remove. And then 2 more tiles for the shear beams. I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of the chimney. It's got a fire, some smoke coming from that fire. Then I'm gonna put a simple little bench out under that window, and then 3 posts for the awning. For the roof, I used a bunch of slope pieces, and then I wanted that cedar shaker kind of look on the gable ends, so I put some tiles there. It was a little hard They're not actually connected that well because of the offset. You can see there's like, what, an eighth of a plate difference there or something crazy, quarter of a plate. But looks pretty good, and it's just going to rest loosely inside the walls. That's because any connection points would just kind of rip those walls apart when I take this off. There are a couple hinge brackets there, so I'm going to use those hinge plates again for the awning here. And like I said, this will just rest on top. And we got the Walter House. And here we have the Walter House in place. Got a few of those preformed trees out front. Everything's looking pretty good. I think I'm gonna like the layout. There is obviously a big spot back here. That's gonna be a big building for next time. But I think I'm gonna need to add some landscaping. This just green base plate, I don't know, it's looking kind of boring. Went ahead and put a couple of small cedar trees I had left over from when I did the hill back there. They're at a small scale because it's supposed to be off in the distance, but I had a few left over, so I put one by the pigs there and another one on the corner. I have a lot of these leaf things I made. I just used a tree leaf and put a bunch of the leaves on it. I have a pretty big bag of those, and I have way more of the components if I need to make more. I also have some little pine trees, some of those new fern elements. Haven't played around with those yet. And then I have a huge bag of these 3-piece things, which I don't know if I'll ever use all of those. I actually don't kind of like them that much. I have some over here, but you bump them and they fall off, so they're kind of annoying. But got that at my disposal. Let's see what I can do. All right, and here we go, the residential area. I did a lot more details on the landscaping. I added a few minifigures down the street just to make it look like a lived-in residential area. Those will probably change and moved around potentially in the future. But I did a lot of landscaping. Didn't do it all in the time lapse because landscaping is hard and constantly making mistakes and redoing stuff. But I used a lot of those leaf clusters that I showed you. Over here, I guess throughout, I added some of those fern pieces in dark green, kind of like weeds poking through. I have some more ferns over here on the side. You can see that I have the next building already marked out, foundation. So any guesses on what that might be? In between the buildings here, I added some kind of sticks, dead grass and stuff. I figure the part between the houses there doesn't get too much sunlight. Also, I have a ton of those brown sticks, and I'll never be able to use them all probably. But a lot of leaves around. Put a couple trees, I think I showed you that. And then over here, I kind of intersperse some of those light green 3-leaf elements that are bendy and I don't know, don't hold on that great, but kind of intersperse those, and I think it makes that transition look okay. All these modulars are on light green base plates. Kind of wish those were on regular green, but is what it is. Yeah, I haven't done much landscaping, but man, I really like how all this leaves and landscaping turned out. I think I might want to go ahead and add that around the octagon building here and probably the courtyard back there as well. But let me know what you think. I think it turned out great. Fredericksburg is looking a lot better, or a lot more diverse, I guess, now that we have a lot of houses. But there we go, the long talked about residential area I had planned. Let me know what you think about it. If you have any ideas or anything I could add in the future. Otherwise, I'll see you next time on Fred-BRICKS-burg.